This video is sponsored by Squarespace. We have seedlings everywhere. We're doing pretty good. We're getting the stuff that we ordered, you know, moving through. The greenhouses are full now, but we still have a lot of seedlings. And it's time. We need to make our next round of seedlings. If we want to keep the farm flowing, we got to keep the seedlings flowing. So we got our Lisianthus. These are all Lisianthus that we potted up from what was left over of what we couldn't get into the greenhouse. And they're looking really good. They're rooting in really nicely. And the plan with these is we're gonna sell them. We're selling these for $75. They're a mix of different colors. I wanted to make sure that they potted up well before I started listing them. But, you know, I'd say it's time. I sold four trays already. You know, and so how many do we have left? We have 11 left. Yeah. So
if we sell them all, that's pretty good subsidy for...
That's like $800 if we sell these. But we gotta list them. We gotta put them on Marketplace. I think they'll sell really fast. And then all of my stuff that's good for dried flowers. This is Winged Everlasting, and they were this tall and they had flower buds on them. Let's see, I can find one right here. See, it was flowering. It was so desperate. It's growing so well. So I gave it a big haircut yesterday because these still, you know, it's not quite ready for stuff to be able to be planted outside of the greenhouses. We're still getting freezing nights. And these are cold hardy, but not that cold hardy. I need to start hardening them off and it won't be long until they go out. And then this is, oh, I don't know. This is Winged Everlasting. This is Paper Daisy. That's what it is.
Oh, I like those Paper Daisies.
Yeah, totally. These, they're looking very happy. We don't fertilize our seedlings. I had someone asking me this the other day. We put a little bit of powdered fertilizer into our potting soil. And then usually our seedlings, we only grow them for a month and then we plant them out. So the powdered fertilizer is enough to keep them healthy. But these soil blocks, they were at the point that they were needing something, you know, and this plant, this is a good example here. So there's like, you know, they're not as dark green as they should be. I had these outside yesterday, so they got a little bit sunburned. That's what the dark color is from. But so at this point I've started every week, I'm giving them a water with a liquid fertilizer inside of it. They need something. These need to get out. And this is Campanula. This is a lavender and a white Campanula. And this is gonna be my next thing that I plant into the greenhouses once I get them hardened off. And then this is Echinops. You know, it's growing pretty good. I know. Those are the...
Are you gonna put it in a different spot or is it gonna go in the same with the others?
Well, we only have 25 on the farm, and I bought 1,000 pack of seeds because it was the only size pack that was available. So I started, I think I have about 50 started, but I'm like, it's so good, and I have 1,000 seeds. I think that once all this craziness of seedlings is done, kind of come June, I'm probably gonna start, you know, 400 of them in like a 72, something large, and I'm gonna grow them out and then I'm gonna plant them in the fall so that we'll have lots and lots and lots and lots. And if we have too many, then we can always dig them up and sell them. These are my Snapdragons that I still have not done anything with, and I don't even know what I'm gonna do. They're like 2 months old at this point, so I don't think I can prick them out. I was kind of thinking I might just plant them as clumps with lots of space. We normally pinch our Snapdragons, but I think if I do them as these clumps, you know, and then I don't pinch them, they'll basically function the same idea. Or I might even just take the blocks and like rip them apart. And then if, you know, oh, there was 10 in that chunk that I planted and one survived, so perfect. Because they want to be in the ground. Our one last tray that we ordered from Ball that still hasn't gotten out. They're very sad because they want to be planted out, but yet again, we can't plant this into the greenhouse and it's been so cold this year. You know, last night it got down to -3, you know, and these don't mind the cold, but that's pretty cold. So this is a blue Statice. I'm really hoping that next week it's going to be time. Put this into the ground.
Our high tunnels really only are good for about 1 degree or maybe 2 degrees at night.
Yeah, if it freezes outside, it freezes in the tunnel. It protects it from frost, though. So, you know, that's kind of the advantage.
Yeah, and it gives it a warmer day.
Yeah. All right, here is Snapdragons that I did prick out. I did a little bit. And these are butter popcorn Costas. Ooh. So
best of the best.
Yeah, these are important. And they're looking pretty good. A bunch of them were really sad when I pricked them out, but they've kind of bounced back now. And so this is gonna, I don't know, I think maybe I might fill in the greenhouse with it. You know, here's another tray of it. I haven't decided exactly where it's gonna go, but they want to go out. Time to harden them off. Get them outside. More of my sad, overseeded Snapdragons.
Teal Forest.
I know. I'm sorry, Snapdragons. I'm sorry I messed up so bad.
Serina, they do not accept your apology.
They definitely don't. But it's a good thing that plants don't have feelings, so I don't have to feel too guilty. This I am incredibly excited about, because this is Bells of Ireland, and they look really good.
They do look good.
I know. I have tried to grow this for a couple of years in a row and failed. And so this year I started them into these trays, put the seeds into the trays, and then I stuck them outside. It was like still snowing. It was really cold. And then I left them outside for a couple weeks until I was ready to start them. And then I brought them inside into the heat. And so I think getting that like cold vernalization period is what led to some success. But my success still isn't that much success. There's probably only a 50% germination rate in here. But the plants are really happy and they're cold hardy too. So these are on the list of, you know, to get put outside along with the Statice and the straw flowers.
I'm really excited about them because they're a really popular flower at the farmer's market in the spring. I see people having bouquets with them in them all the time.
Yeah.
And we've never had them to sell before.
Well, they're my absolute favorite color, which you cannot get in flowers. They're like a perfect chartreuse green. And they smell good. This, I didn't realize, someone gifted me a bunch of them and they smell so nice. They're like a citrusy sweet, like a really beautiful floral smell. So I'm excited. I have almost a full bed started, right? Because 6 trays is a full bed and the germination rate was bad on it. So it's not a full bed, but I also have 6 trays outside that are starting to grow right now. So I'm gonna have a succession of them. They don't like the heat, so you know I can't do more, like I can't start any more later on to have them all year. But I mean, with like kind of a month difference between when the seedlings were started, that should give me like 2 months of picking off of them. Fingers crossed. All right. We got some Snapdragons that I didn't mess up because these were pelleted Snapdragon seeds. And these I'm gonna get into the greenhouse as soon as possible. These are the orange Potomac, which is like our favorite color in Snapdragons. And then we have our Indian Summer Rudbeckia, which are, you know, Rudbeckia is one of those tricky ones. They look really sad and really pathetic for a very, very long time. And then you go to bed and you wake up one day and you're like, oh, look, they look great. So they're finally at that stage where they look good. And then what we do with this is we have a bed of Indian Summer Rudbeckia, and every year some of it dies. So we go and we fill in any of the gaps. I want to have one full entire 50-foot bed of Indian Summer, because it blooms throughout the year, but then I can kind of like pick a quarter of it, like hack it down really hard, pick another quarter of it, hack it down really hard, and work my way through it and kind of have it be a more manageable crop. So I might not actually have enough with how much has died this year, which is fine because we were just out in the garden and there's a ton of them that I've self-seeded, and so I can dig them up and they look almost the same as this. They really like growing outside on their own. So we have more than that. We just have to, you know, go do some foraging. Okay, and here we have white dill Ammi, which looks so pretty. These is like, I really like this. Yeah, I don't know what's up with this tray. Like this is white dill and this is white dill, but this side is very sad. I was like, I don't know, was it under like bad lights, or maybe it was like tilted a little bit, so half the tray didn't get enough water. But yeah, like I fertilized these a couple days ago, and I can see that the growth that's coming in is greener. So Ammi's such a weed, right? And then this is green mist, which, you know, is my favorite. And I love how like it's this like fern leaf foliage. So these were, I'm gonna put some of these into the greenhouse. I did this in the greenhouse last year, and it did really well. Like I was amazed how much money I got off of, you know, like 10 bed feet of it. It actually, even though this is like a low value crop, it produced enough that it made sense to have it in the greenhouse, to have it early. And then this is another one that's definitely getting space in the greenhouse. This is Orlea. And last year we had Orlea in the greenhouse, which was incredible. I picked I picked it until I couldn't pick it anymore. All the stems. We had it with like ranunculus. We were doing these really beautiful bouquets. We were selling it to a florist. She really liked it. It's a lot more formal than the Ammis, and it's a little bit smaller, so it's easier to work with in arranging. So for sure, I'm giving a big chunk of the greenhouse to this. When I direct seeded it into the field last year, and the plants were really sad and really pathetic. They struggled a lot. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe half of this will be in the greenhouse, half of this I'll put in as a seedling. And then I have Dara, which for some reason had really bad germination, but that's fine because Dara, I can direct seed, no problem. And I have an entire tray of white dill and an entire tray of green mist and a huge chunk of Orlea. So we can just have Dara in the summer. It'll be okay. This is also like, please plant me. And it's got a little bit of a purple haze to it because I put this outside yesterday for a bunch of hours and it got a little sunburn. But this is Yarrow. This is like I think this is a pastel mix Yarrow. And yeah, looks really good. Yarrow's like really, like, you know, it's perennial, it's really cold hardy. So this, as soon as it's hardened off, I can get this outside in the field.
Us, Yarrow can outcompete grass.
Yeah, Yarrow, like, yeah, we dug up Yarrow out of our grass. It's a great one for us because it's really drought tolerant. Last year, my Yarrow, it got really buggy. Like my stuff that is a couple years old, it was so covered in aphids that we couldn't use it at all. But any of my new plantings of Yarrow, because we love it, we want more every year, they didn't get buggy at all. So this is kind of, I grew this even though I have like 2,000 plants of Yarrow probably at this point, because I'm worried that the perennialized Yarrow is going to be susceptible to aphids. And so maybe I need fresh plantings every year to guarantee.
You might not be able to treat it as a perennial.
Yeah, or we can't depend on it as a perennial. What I should have done last year when my Yarrow was full of bugs and, you know, obvious that it wasn't going to be usable, I was kind of hoping that they'd like fly away or get eaten. And it didn't happen. We should have hacked it down. We should have been like, nope, this crop's no good when it was in the bud stage. And if we did that, we would have actually have gotten a flush of Yarrow in the late summer. Our Yarrow never blooms twice. We only get like one cut off of it a year. So there is still uses to the Yarrow if it is going to get bugs on it every spring. We could use those older Yarrow plants to be able to get Yarrow at 2 times of the year. But, you know, it's needs some more learning, some more experimentation. Okay, and then we have our Lake Michigan, and I don't know how to say this, Trachelium, something like that. And so these, they were plugs that I got in. They are not cold hardy like the other things. So I potted them up into the 72 trays and they're doing really good. I pulled one the other day, right? So you don't want to plant things until they've like filled the plug, right? And so it looks really nice. It's starting to fill up the 72 cell, right? It didn't pull the bottom, so it still has some more growing space to be able to cultivate, but they're not root bound. And fingers crossed, I should be able to plant these probably in like 10 days, 14 days. Have it be warm enough that I don't have to worry about frosts, but also have them timed so I don't have to worry about them getting overly root bound and then really suffering by the time I get them out. So we might have actually done something right with these. And then we also have them in the purple color. And they look really nice. I had these previously under my strongest lights, and it brought out like the really rich purple color, which is what they'll look like in the field. You can see this newer growth where it's light green. This is like the lower lights, the lights that don't pump out the same amount of looms or however it is that you measure light. And so they've kind of gone back to to green foliage. But as soon as these get into the field, they're gonna be this beautiful rich color, I'm sure.
Because the sun is the ultimate grow light.
Yep. Everyone's favorite grow light, the sun, free. This is my Fama Scabiosa, which, you know, is actually starting to look like something, which has me really happy. I have it in blue, and then I have it in white. These are a perennial, so any perennials that you grow as a seedling, they grow really slow. It's kind of painful and boring. The funnest things to grow as seedlings are like zinnias. They're ready to plant in like 10 days. But yeah, like it's coming along really nicely. They look really healthy. They look really happy. And it won't be long until I can plant these outside. And then even more of these, because we loved these. These were gorgeous.
Do you remember how hard it was to grow the loofahs? Because you started them so early, but then they grew so quickly?
Oh, I know. We gave up on loofah pretty quickly. We're like, we don't need this kind of stress in our life. More. We have some very sad Feverfew here. This is a double. This was like my canary in the coal mine that it was time to fertilize. So you can really see the difference that the fertilizer made in this very sad strip here. So all those bigger leaves are like almost white. They're so devoid of nutrients. And then any of the newer growth is this like glow of green coming up in the middle. And that's what fertilizer does. That's why you shouldn't leave things in a micro soil block for 2 months without any sort of fertilizer. But then the other half of this tray, these are all the same. This other half is looking really good. And they are now at the point, this side, that they need to get out. They're starting to get some height on them, and you know, they're cold hardy. They're like a perennial to zone 5. So the one thing about perennials when they're babies is they're babies, right? So they are more sensitive, right? If you overwinter them and they're a year old and they spent the winter outside, they don't care about what the weather is. But when you take them, like, oh, they're sweet summer children, they've lived these shelter lives inside your grow room, and then you stick them out in the cold, it can kill them. The shock of going from these, you know, warmer temperatures into extreme cold can be too much. So, you know, you do want to be careful. You don't want to be planting them during a hard freeze. They will, you know, get seriously damaged from frost. But yeah, then this is my single. And then these two, they were getting really unhappy. You know, maybe a little bit of fungal disease, because, you know, one of the things about keeping your plants healthy is if they don't stay healthy, if they start to suffer, then they're susceptible to diseases, right? Like when they're not well watered and they're not well fertilized, that's when pests come and colonize them. That's when fungal diseases are more likely to take over and take them out. You know, that's why fungal disease is a bit of a risk on flower farms, because we're planting our flowers so close together because we want to stress out our flowers. Because when flowers are stressed out, they stretch and grow these extra long stems. But because we're stressing them out to get even longer stems, it means that those fungal diseases can come in there and, you know, really decimate your crops in a way that they wouldn't necessarily if you had this like garden spacing. Okay, straw flowers. This tray is really fun. So in my last seedling tour, I showed how bad the germination rate was on some of the colors. This is straw flowers, and then what I have here is I have orange, I have purple red, and then I have copper red. And so you can see the copper red, like very, very dense, way taller. This had really good germination. And then the purple red had poor germination, and then the orange had the worst germination of all. And I kind of laugh because if you look in close, they've started to germinate. Like here they are 6 weeks later, finally germinating. You know, I can maybe use them, but that's not really helpful, right? Like you want them to all germinate in a reasonable time frame.
Get it together, straw flowers.
Yeah, come on. I knew that this was going to be the case because the orange straw flower and the purple red straw flower, this was seed that I had last year, and it had horrible germination rate last year. Once the plants were out though, they were healthy and happy. And in fact, the orange straw flower had some of the largest flower heads out of any of the varieties. They, almost too big, perfect for bouquets, because they were like really big and really impactful, but we like the straw flowers for using in crafts, and so we do like to get some of the smaller heads, so it's kind of a catch-22 on those ones. But yeah, they're looking really good, and they're definitely, they all, moral of the story, they all want to get outside. Okay, then I got my Statice. This is all apricot Statice, and this is the best color. These are gorgeous. Very romantic. There's like a mix to them. They kind of go from like these like peachy blushes to these like soft yellows. Really, really, really beautiful. Like florists want this. Everyone wants this, very much in high demand. But apricot Statice is a pain in the butt. These, like the germination was really bad on them. The plants are really weak. They produce way less stems than any of the other colors of Statice that I grow. And the stems are weak as well. So they're not the strongest genetics. They're just the most desirable, desirable color. That's why I did an entire tray, because I knew that I'd need lots. Okay, and then this is purple Statice and blue Statice and pastel blue Statice. And I had the worst germination on my blue Statice this year. It was like, this would have been a problem, except for the fact that that tray that I bought from Ball that I already showed you guys is all 200 blue Statice. So I could have had 0 blue Statice and still been fine. But I'm glad that it's finally doing something. Hey, more Statice. We have white Statice. And these were getting kind of sad. These are definitely, they were happy that I gave them a fertilizing.
They're like, okay, maybe we could go inside now?
Yeah, they're all like, oh, I don't like these micro soil blocks. But yeah, so Statice likes cold weather. Statice wants to get planted out when it's cold, which is part of the reason why I started it so early. But they're not really gonna start blooming until like early summer. So they have lots of time. They have lots of time to grow. It doesn't matter that they're small. Yeah. Like they don't have to do much. Okay, then more straw flowers. Here we got, half of this is white straw flowers, and then the other half is apricot straw flowers. So these beautiful, beautiful stuff. Perfect for maybe selling for weddings. Not so perfect for our market bouquets, because no one wants white in our market bouquets. Okay, and then this is more straw flowers, and these, yet again, like great for wedding colors. This is silver. So silver is kind of like a super light pink. It's like a white glowing pink color. So it's really pretty, really romantic. And then rose is like a nice, like rich pink color. It's not like the bright pink straw flower. It's like a more of a soft pink. Yeah. And then last but not least, we have more Statice. And these ones, you can see they're very upright. They're very vertical, and they don't have the serrated leaves. that, you know, I kind of think of when I think Statice. Like here's a good comparison, right? So Statice, the way it grows, these serrated leaves in the plants open up and they're very flat. That's kind of how they grow. This tray here does not look like that. And the reason why it doesn't look like that is because I'm growing them very poorly. They're very sad. This has been under one of our like weakest lights of all. These have not been getting the amount of light that they need to thrive. And so because of that, the leaves are like, you know, reaching for the light. This is like the equivalent of legginess in Statice. And like they just haven't really developed the more mature serrated leaves. On this side, the yellow, because the yellow is the absolute strongest out of all the Statice colors. And it's starting to get the serrated leaves. It's starting to open up a bit because it's like, I don't care, grow me in the shade, I'll still I'll still thrive. So kind of a good visual lesson about the importance of having really good lights, right? Like you can get by without them, but your plants aren't going to thrive, right? So if you have these lights that aren't as good, start using the sun as soon as you can, right? Like for me, I have lots of lights and I don't have a lot of time. But if I only had a few lights and they weren't very strong and they weren't growing great seedlings, at this time of year when the days are really nice, I'd actually be physically moving these plants outside for the day, letting them get the natural sunlight, the best light of all, and then I'd move them inside for the cold nights to keep them protected. And, you know, that would grow the best seedlings of all.
But a windowsill is not...
Yeah, not a windowsill, actually outside. You know, it's kind of like, if you sat at a window all day, are you gonna get a sunburn? If you're not gonna get a sunburn like you would outside in the sun, you know, it's a representation of how much the window is diluting the light.
Now this is what I like to see.
And then this is the most exciting part of all on this seedling tour, which is, I have an empty rack. I have empty space. I actually have 2 empty racks. And so this is very important because what I just showed you is only the seedlings that I currently have growing. And almost all of those I need to plant out, right? Like that's the theme over and over again. This is where I'm gonna be starting my next round of seedlings. Everything that I've showed you is like cool hardy annuals, perennials, the earliest of the early stuff. Next up, we have our, you know, our greeneries, stuff that can take a little bit more cool weather, takes a bit longer. You know, second successions of cold hardy annuals like Feverfew. We're gonna do some more of that. You know, we're starting into things like, I don't even know, I need to go through my seeds. But lots and lots. We're actually going to be making 50 trays, 50 Swift Blocker trays to fill because we have so many things that we need to start. And, you know, in a week or two after that, that's when we're going to be starting our warm weather loving crops, things like our zinnias and our cosmos and our celosia. So much coming. So, you know, the best part about getting your seedlings out is getting to grow more. I wouldn't be able to grow this many seedlings and to grow this many things on the farm if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, I've been actively farming for 5 years and gardening for 20 years at this point. And one thing that I don't have a lot of time to learn is how to make a website. I don't want to be here 5 years from now you know, just starting on my journey. And that's the reason why I love Squarespace so much. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to create your website. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content. Manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights, all on one easy-to-use platform. Or create a community with their powerful blogging tools. Or use Squarespace extensions to manage inventory, promote products, and streamline bookkeeping. Or simply display posts from your social profiles. Honestly, the options feel limitless. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/youcaneatthegrass to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I'm not ready yet to officially launch what I've been working on with Squarespace, but pretty soon I hope I'm going to be able to reveal my website. So stay tuned.